Greetings and welcome, everyone. We're back again on this 13th of January, 2024 for our next session in the Science is the New Religion script with Michael in Germany. He's put together a script for us, and we are going to go deeper into the subject of science. Michael, welcome.
Yeah, hello, Brett. Thanks for having me. Yeah, we're moving on in the script. We need a little bit, but then we're coming to the things that I really find interesting. But we have to set a foundation because I think that some things need a little bit more insight or at least critical thinking. Because there are only two seeds and it's just a belief. Religion is a belief. Science also is a belief. What do you believe in? Believe in their construction, in the atoms. Atoms mean the smallest parts, and now they have found out, there are even smaller parts.
Quarks or whatever, yeah.
Truth is relative. Huh? Truth is only for a certain amount of time.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you live in a dictatorship, for example, then truth is also limited within your borders. Because the truth might be totally different outside your country. But you're not supposed to question the authority. And of course,
officially, right.
Yeah, officially. The official narrative. Of course, this is Genesis 3, without a doubt. So these are the two seeds, thy seed and her seed. This is the conflict. There are no 13 satanic bloodlines or 20 centuries or just being and battling together. It is just two seeds.
Yeah, Jesus said, I made all one blood. So, there is an absolute, of course, but it's up to you to determine what that is, essentially. Michael and I are just here to remind you, that's all. Right, Michael? At least something like that, yeah.
I don't know why I'm here, but I'm just doing it on Sabbath. You see that it's Sabbath here. In Germany, it's already over because it's dark. But nonetheless, you see that I'm learning something, and I hope that some other people will have their own ideas and just start to train critical thinking. I know that is a German video, but you see that does not count. Because everything is within their frame. Your measuring system, at least our European measuring system for meters and kilometers, and so it just all is derived from the Earth or from certain distances on the Earth. So you have to believe it. Officially, they have measured a distance between the North Pole until the equator. And of course, you have to believe it, because I really doubt that you will prove that. And you must have much, much money and even more time on your hands. So you have to believe it. It is just a belief. And this distance, divided through 10 millions, is 1 meter. But of course, you have to believe it. So, these are all facts that you cannot prove. You either believe it or you don't. It is not important for your salvation, of course. But I find it very interesting to see that it is just a belief, because you cannot prove anything. Also, the weight of a kilogram, or in your terms it would be a little bit more than 2 pounds, lbs, is also defined. It's defined, so if you got a cube here with 10 centimeters in every dimension, and you would fill it with the water with a certain temperature, then you would get 1 kilogram, or 2.2 lbs means pounds.
Mm.
And they tell you that the globe is not equally a globe. And you have to believe that too. And there's a new definition of a meter, which is the far most accurate since 1983. That is the distance that the light travels. That is a meter. Great, huh?
What?
That light travels in a vacuum. Oh, now we got the same problem as the last session. What kind of vacuum? A little bit vacuum, a small vacuum.
Yeah, right.
A purple vacuum. Yeah. So the distance of the light, that is 1 meter. That is very interesting because 2 days ago I came across a strange video. Show that to you. The speed of light in vacuum, or once again, commonly denoted, is equal to 299,792.458 meters per second. Approximately 186,000 miles per second. That's fast. According to the special theory of relativity, you have to believe, otherwise you do not get good grades. C, so that means acceleration. What is the Latin name of acceleration? What is celeris, or what? I have to look it up. I'm just too lazy to do this now. Is the upper limit for the speed at which conventional matter or energy can travel through space. It's very interesting because if that is correct, it's very interesting. Because that author claims that it is exactly the location of the great pyramids of Giza. You know what's more important or what more interesting is that I could not verify that because I tried it myself and I came not to that location. So you have to prove everything. I found it very hilarious when he said there is an estimation how many people would be needed to carry a 2.5 ton of a block. And they said, oh, must be 18. I said, okay, yeah, sure. The answer to everything is 18.
Yeah.
Yeah, so.
Wait a second. They're saying it'll take 18 people to lift 2.5 tons?
Yeah, it's a little bit...
That's got to be BS.
Yeah, that would be 150 something kilo for everybody. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that would be 300 pounds for anyone.
I think that's BS.
That's why I questioned the entire video.
Yeah, right. Who do you know who can lift 300 pounds? I don't think I can lift 300 pounds easily. Sorry.
No. I can't translate this. You see that they are coming with more and more sophisticated or complicated explanations. Where do we know this from? To blind someone with science means to confuse by the use of big words or complex explanations is attested from 1937. Yeah, that's what they are trying to do. A second is the 9,192,631,707 times of the period of the transfer between two hyperstructure level of the base level of atoms of the cesium nuclide CS133 equivalent radiation. Have you understood that correctly, Brad? Otherwise, you get not a good grade.
Yeah, right.
So it's just hilarious, yeah. So all the explanations, they have to be very complicated because then it sounds very, very, very scientific and, very educated, of course. Although in the Bible it's quite easy. In the Bible it said that God set everything in place.
Mm-hmm.
God created everything.
Mm-hmm.
And that we are all brethren. There are no extremely wise men among us. But what do I know? You see, the secular science is just promoting quite the opposite, of course.
Yeah, in verse 9, and call no man your father upon the earth.
Yeah.
Very important. Very important. For one is your Father which is in heaven. Neither ye be called masters, for one is your master, even Christ. But he that is greatest among you shall be your servant. And whoever shall exalt himself, yes, shall be abased, is it? Yeah.
I'm sorry.
And he that shall humble himself shall be exalted. But woe unto you, scribes, Pharisees, hypocrites, for ye shut up the kingdom of heaven against men. For ye neither go in yourselves, neither suffer ye them that are entering to go in.
Yeah, but
I don't know. Just makes so much sense.
What are these scribes and Pharisees? These are scientists.
Yes. They're the new scribes.
Yeah,
the
they're new
Pharisees.
scribes. Yeah.
Yeah.
So when
they're the dogmatic
in
bastards.
the days of Jesus, Yeshua, there was the scribes and Pharisees were the hypocrites. So what should convince me that is now different than 2,000 years ago?
It's not different, no.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's the same thing. It's just a different type of scribe and Pharisee.
Yeah.
Different type.
Sure.
Yeah, ye serpents, ye generation of vipers, how can ye escape the damnation of hell?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mm.
It's always the same. So, it's about geology. It's about the earth. Therefore, I thought it would be good to have a start point. And the start point for me was Genesis 1:9.
Genesis 1:9 reads, and God said, let the waters under the heaven be gathered together unto one place, and let the dry land appear. And so it was.
Mm-hmm.
Or wait, it was, and it was so.
Yeah, so that means the waters gathered together unto one place, and then the dry land appeared. And in Genesis 10, which is going on and going on and going, there is much happening between, huh? There's the creation of mankind. There's the Garden of Eden. There are the giants in chapter 6. And in chapter 10, out of a sudden, reread, there's the lineage here. From these begat them, and so, and so, and so, and so. And I have to look it up where it is actually here. Yeah. In Genesis 10, remember? 6 is the giants. Then after the giants, all flesh was corrupt. God ordered Noah to build an ark. Noah was then on his boat together with one pair of animals and together with all together 8 people. And then the great flood appeared. And in the chapter 11, Freemasons of course, the Tower of Babel appeared. But between the great flood and the Tower of Babel, there was something happening in Genesis 10. It's about the generations of the sons of Noah, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. After the flood. So Genesis 10 clearly is after the flood. So let's say in a general term, a new earth. Yeah, so it's just not new, but new people. Yeah, so a new beginning of mankind. Let's put it this way. And it's also not 100% correct, but you see, that is just a new start because all the flesh was corrupt and God wanted to have a restart with uncorrupt flesh. Mm-hmm. So, and then in verse 8, Cush, so we have learned here, one of the descendants of Noah, of course, because there were none other people on this earth except the descendants of Noah. One of them was Cush. And Cush begat Nimrod. He began to be a mighty one in the earth. He was a mighty hunter before the Lord, and I know from several studies that he was hunting for souls.
He's a son of Ham, which is Cush, yes, verse 6. And sons of Ham, Cush, and Mizraim.
Yeah, okay, I could have pointed that out that a little bit more better.
Yeah, so it's not quite a direct It's more indirect, yeah. But still, it's a descendant of Noah, yes. Correct.
And so when you go down and down the lineage, then you come down to, out of a sudden, the verse 25. And I just want to ask you to read this.
Yes, verse 25 reads, "And unto Eber were born 2 sons. The name of one was Peleg, for in his days was the earth divided, and his brother's name was Ikotin."
So, the Bible in 10:25, after the flood, before the Tower of Babel, spoke about the land was divided, or the earth was divided. Hebrews 6:3-8-5. And in verse 32, we read the following.
"These are the families of the sons of Noah after their generations in the nations, their nations. And by these were the nations divided in the earth after the flood."
So the earth divided and the nations divided, they have a different word. 6385, 6504. So one is about the earth, so that is dry land, and the other is the nations, which means these are the what would you say, that the gathering of people, nations?
Sure. Well, you have your what do you call it? Secular way of dealing with a leader, right? So, yeah, your nations are usually large flocks of people, yeah, I would imagine.
I want to concentrate on verse 25. So that during the day of Peleg, in his days, the earth was divided. So that means, in my humble opinion, that the earth was united before Peleg. Because otherwise that does not make any sense. It's the same thing around with the serpent, that God said, oh, now you have to crawl on your belly and eat dust. Yeah, so that means that the snake did not crawl on his belly and ate dust before. Otherwise, that does not make any sense. So that must be the other way around, the opposite. So that means the earth was divided in the days of Peleg in Genesis 10, before the Tower of Babel. Or maybe during the time of Babel, but of course after the flood. And from the timeline, we know that the flood appeared quite about 2400 BC, something like this. So according to my timeline, it was close to 2350 before Christ. That was the big flood, or the great flood. Interesting. So, that means the earth was not divided in the beginning, when God created heaven and earth, and mankind, obviously. So the earth was divided. Nowadays, we learn in the school system that there are continents of the earth. Of course, prehistoric, which means there is no record of it. Prehistoric, so pre means before history. So everybody can come up with his own theory. And the continents of the earth are also very complicated to explain. So the school system, the secular science, tells us of something like continental drift. Oh, I thought that's interesting. Continental drift. How come? The science tells us there are just some tensions between land masses and all the stuff. You can look it up, but they come up with interesting explanations of everything else. Yeah, so prehistoric continents. Yeah. Interesting. So there is no record about it, but it could be this, could be something. So this is really interesting. Bear in mind that everything that we supposed to know is just a history, is just his story. That means that they can come up with everything. You see, after the official destruction of the library of Alexandria and all other artifacts, most of the so-called knowledge, or science so-called, has been stored in a library of, especially Medici library. And here we got a quote of this very interesting documentation of heliosorcery, which I would recommend to you. which reads, Cosimo has stored huge quantities of this pagan material in his library in Florence. The Medici library, whose final architect was Michelangelo, welcomes scholars favored by the papacy. Oh, the papacy welcomes scholars and favors scholars
who are on their side. Yeah.
Who are on their side, and they
absolutely they do.
Been supplied then with pagan materials. These scholars, not surprisingly, soon began emulating the papacy and focusing more upon humanity than upon the Old and New Testament. How come?
Oh, how interesting.
How come? Yeah, Age of Reason. Yeah. So this is Wikipedia. Wikipedia tells you there is a Pangaea. Or actually, it was actually.
Pangaea?
Yeah.
Looks like.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Gaia. The supercontinent Pangaea in the early Mesozoic, if you believe it. Of course, millions, billions of years, trillions of years. Yeah, so it is just not absolute. I do not know if that is just a distorted image here, but it does not look like a globe. Looks like the Earth has...
Looks like a Toyota symbol.
The Earth should go on a diet. So what the school system is explaining is, of course, not Peleg. The school system tells you there was a Pangaea, a supercontinent that existed during the late Paleozoic and early Mesozoic eras. It assembled from the earlier continental units of Gondwana, Euro-America, and Siberia during the Carboniferous approximately 335 million years ago. 3 plus 3 plus 5. And began to break apart about 200 million years ago. And of course not 2,350 or 2,300 something before
Yeah, that's
Christ.
really interesting how they got that number, 335.
Yeah,
Thanks
I
for
thought
pointing
so too.
that out.
Yeah.
That's an 11.
Yeah.
Wow.
At the end of the Triassic and beginning of the Jurassic. Of course. In contrast to the present Earth and its distribution of continental mass, Pangaea was centered on the equator and surrounded by the superocean Pantalassa and the Paleotethys and subsequent Tethys Ocean. Pangaea is the most recent supercontinent to have existed and the first to be reconstructed by geologists. Oh. And you have to believe it, huh? Come on, nobody can tell you a proof of this. Of course, they got their geologists and they come up with certain samples and you have to believe it because they are experts. But it's a little bit long time ago, huh? 335 million years ago. You know that I don't think that their C14 carbon dating method is reliable, but what do I know? I'm not an expert, so I do not count. Only experts count are who are just working inside their frame, of course. The origin of the concept comes from no one other than a German guy, and I apologize for this. Alfred Wegener, the world map of Pangaea created to illustrate his concept. The name Pangaea is derived from ancient Greek, and now it gets really interesting. Pan, or panic, means all, entire, whole, and Gaia, which means Mother Earth. And then you know that it could be a pagan concept. Huh? What have we learned before? Cosimo had stored huge quantities of his pagan material in his library in Florence. The Medici library, whose final architect was Michelangelo, welcomed scholars favored by the papacy. So, Pan, of course, is a depiction of Satan, the horned one. And Gaia is Mother Earth. So I don't think that is just here a coincidence, but you're free to have any opinion. The concept that the continents once formed a contiguous landmass was hypothesized, as any other thing, which corroborating evidence by Alfred Wegener, the originator of the scientific theory of continental drift, in his 1912 publication, The Origin of Continents. Oh, it's like on the origin of species, He expanded his hypothesis in the 1915 book of The Origin of Continents and Oceans, in which he postulated that before breaking up and drifting to their present locations, all the continents had formed a single supercontinent that he called the Urkontinent, or the original continent. That is the book of Alfred Wegener. Continental drift is the hypothesis that the Earth's continents have moved over geologic time relative to each other, this appearing to have drifted across the ocean bed. The idea of continental drift has been subsumed into the science of plate tectonics, which studies the movement of the continents as they ride on plates of the Earth's lithosphere. The speculation that continents might have drifted was first put forward by Abraham Ortelius in 1596. And the concept was independently and more fully developed by Alfred Wegener in 1915. However, at that time the hypothesis was rejected by many for lack of any motive mechanism. The English geologist Arthur Holmes later proposed mantle convections for that mechanism. History insert here. There is no mentioning of Peleg, of course. The modern theory of plate tectonics, refining Wegener, explains that there are two kinds of crust of different compositions, continental crust and oceanic crust, both floating above a much deeper plastic mantle. So, you can't prove that either. First of all, it's too slow. Second of all, you don't have the measurements. Third of all, you're not in that club.
Fourth of all, when did the Earth create plastic?
Mm.
Isn't that a synthetic derivative of
Oil, yeah.
Yeah, right.
So they say.
So they say, yeah. Correct, yes.
Pangea, etymology, says a supercontinent of the late Paleozoic era from Greek pan, Earth. Mr. Wegener, this is the German Wikipedia now here, was the youngest of 5 children of a family of priests. I said, not, not again.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's everywhere, really.
Yeah.
His father was a theologian and a teacher for old languages on the high school of the Grey Monastery in Berlin. Yeah, this is Alfred Wegener. He died in Greenland in around the middle of November 1930 while returning from an expedition to bring food to a group of researchers camped in the middle of an ice cap. Expedition members built a pyramid-shaped mausoleum in the ice and snow, and Alfred Wegener's body was laid to rest in it. Wonder how they come up with that idea. But the continental drift theory in Latinized is Pangaea, and it is from Greek Gaia. Then you know that must be a pagan concept. Nobody talks about the Earth. And this is the hilarious explanation of Pangaea from Alfred Wegener. He originally proposed that the breakup of Pangaea was due to centripetal forces from the Earth rotation acting on the high continents.
Centripetal, yes. Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Right, centripetal forces.
Yeah, and then you know that only serves their hypothesis of a heliocentric system where the Earth is moving. Simple as that. However, this mechanism was easily shown to be physically implausible, which delayed acceptance of the Pangaea hypothesis. Arthur Holmes proposed a more plausible mechanism of mantle convection, which, together with evidence provided by the mapping of the ocean floor following the Second World War, led to the development and acceptance of the theory of plate tectonics. I'm sorry, but the acceptance of a theory is not proof. It means it is just their conclusion, but it's not the proof. This theory provides the now widely accepted explanation, but it's not a proof for the existence and breakup of Pangaea. Mundus vult decipi, ergo decipiatur. The world wants to be deceived, so she will be deceived.
Is that Latin?
That is Latin, yeah. That was from the
great.
first session of this series. Yeah. Can you imagine? You can also that you can a little bit adjust it by saying the word wants to be pagan. Yeah, so they will be pagan.
Yeah, right. That's a good way of putting it.
Yeah. The Mother
Paganism's
Earth.
so easy and it's so nice and it's traditional too.
Yeah, and everybody accepts it. Yeah, so that means that you are accepted in the social circles. That's most important for the majority of people. I have recognized during the so-called
celebrate Christmas, Michael.
Yeah, so like pandemic. Yeah, it's socially accepted that you are afraid and just hump around outside like a headless chicken. Yeah, it's totally socially accepted since then. Yeah, so Mother Earth, Pangea means Gaia, yeah, it means so it's just a belief, it's just a religion, a natural religion, Mother Earth. And we are coming down to Mother Earth on quite another road soon in the future. Yeah. By the way, as has been mentioned, that we have to get rid of fossil fuels. A fossil fuel, the definition of it, is a hydrocarbon-containing material such as coal, oil, and natural gas formed naturally in the earth crust from the remains of dead plants and animals that is extracted and burned as a fuel. But beware of the deception. What was it? Mundus vult GP, ergo de GPatur. From Paracelsus, allegedly. Beware of the serpent. Once again, the sentence. Formed naturally in the earth crust from the remains of dead plants and animals that is extracted and burned as a fuel. First questions. Where are humans or people on that regard? Second of all, are you sure? That is Wikipedia, and Wikipedia never would lie to you. They claim that Bruce Lee has died on July the 20th in the apartment of Betty Ting Pei. They claim that Kennedy has been shot by Lee and Harvey and Oswald, firing 3 shots in a short amount of seconds. They claim you that the NASA landed on the moon. So, would you trust them? Or would you dig deeper? You have to question everything. That is what these sessions are for. I don't know the absolute truth. Only God knows the absolute truth. The Central of Health, a German website, which is quite interesting, I think, says there's a swindle of oil. In 1757, the Russian geoscientist Mikhailo Lomonosov first postulated that petroleum represented fossil fuel. His hypothesis, based on his own observations and a poor scientific knowledge of his time, was, quote unquote, petroleum comes from the tiny bodies of animals that, trapped in sediments, transformed into petroleum under high pressures and temperatures over unimaginably long periods of time. Of course. It must be long periods of time that nobody can confirm or justify or what else it. A paragraph in the Encyclopedia Britannica deals with the origin of oil and has the following prosaic ending. Despite the enormous volume of scientific work dealing with petroleum, many unanswered questions remain regarding its origins. In 1966, they tell us, oil is just only sufficient for 30 to 40 years. That's why we had in the early beginning of 1970s, when you have all that great United States American muscle cars, they then disappeared, were downgraded with catalyst converters and all the stuff because of emission regulations, because they had a fear in 1970s that the oil would not last for maybe only 30 to 40 years. So now we are 50 years later. What happened to the oil? So, lies everywhere. Fairy tales everywhere. But I found an article. Is oil not fossil at all? When we talk about fossil fuels, we are talking about coal and carbon compounds that were formed millions of years ago from decaying biomass. Today, crude oil and natural gas are considered the most important fossil fuels. However, since methane, the main component of natural gas, was discovered as hot deep sea springs, it has become clear that hydrocarbons can also be formed in abiotic ways. 2 new studies have now developed geochemical scenarios according to which higher molecule hydrocarbons, such as those found in crude oil, could also be formed without the help of a living organism. A Russian-American team led by J.F. Kenney from the Texas-based Gas Resources Corporation simulated conditions 100 kilometers below the Earth's surface by heating limestone, iron oxide, and water to around 1500 degrees Celsius and exposing them to 50,000 times atmospheric pressure. As the researchers report in the United States journal Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences, traces of methane and octane were formed. A model calculation also shows that such processes would no longer take place at shallower depths. However, experiments also show that crude oil can be formed from biomass at depths of several thousand meters. In addition, a second study from Nature, volume 416, page 522, shows that abiotic processes can only provide a small part of the oil replenishment at best. This is an excerpt of that article from Nature. Its title is Abiogenic Formation of Alkanes in the Earth Crust as a Minor Source for Global Hydrocarbon Reservoirs by B. Sherwood Lollar. That is from 2002, volume 416. The discovery of methane as an East Pacific rise, hydrothermal vent, and in other crustal fluids supports the occurrence of an abiogenic source of hydrocarbons. And of course, you have to dig for these sources. So there is no absolute truth. Mainstream is just gathered on Wikipedia to tell you some things which could be indoctrination. Nobody knows where the oil actually comes from. It's just a belief. It's always the same. You believe Wikipedia, or do you believe this article in Nature? What do you believe? What is your belief? So nobody knows. It is just a belief. Or the majority of people believe what the majority of people believe. They are just sheep, in a bad sense of a word. So they just follow the herd mentality. Oh yeah, the majority of people, they get a shot. Oh, I will have a shot too. But it's not the truth. And for the evidence of existence, they claim now in Pangea the distribution of fossils across the continents in one line of evidence pointing to the existence of Pangea. Well, they should have read the Bible in the first place, I guess. But they did not want to do this. You see that the entire article is free of any biblical comments. And that's a common thing too. Wikipedia claims that geologists can also determine the movement of continental plates by examining the orientation of magnetic materials in rocks. Like this. And of course it is 250 million years ago. 219, 320, 370, 420. Millions of years ago. If you are a Bible-believing Christian, you can't believe their science. And there are other supercontinents too. And the fourth last supercontinent is called Columbia. Should this worry me? So, to sum it up, it is just a belief. If God created the earth, then God has divided one landmass into several landmasses or continents. If you believe Wikipedia and the secular explanation, it happened by continental drift. The idea of continental drift gained recognition in the 20th century. It postulates that the curved continents formed from the breaking up of a supercontinent that formed hundreds of millions of years ago. And I think that I would know which direction I would go. I guess I would go Genesis 10. Instead of millions of years ago. Continents means large continuous, so continuous without any interruption, discrete masses of land, ideally separated by expanses of water. That creates our next problem. The criterion large leads to arbitrary classification. Greenland, with a surface area of 2.1 million square kilometers, is only considered the world's largest island, while Australia, at 7.6 million square kilometers, is deemed the smallest continent. So it is just a definition, of course. Where are we now? Now you get to the nitty-gritty. There are several ways of distinguishing the continents as we know it. The color-coded map showing the various continents. You can have a 4-continent model. You can have a 5-continent model. If you prefer, you can have a 6-continent model. And you can even have a 7-continent model. And that is very interesting. Because in the 6th continental model, America is united. North America united with South America. In the 5-continent model, Europe is combined with Asia, so Eurasia. Otherwise, you can't get to the magic number 5. And they really claim, and that I found that extremely interesting, that it is just one continent, Europe, that's where I am here in Germany, and Asia. Because, you know, the definition of continent was one continuous land mass. And I guess from the surface, I think, it looks like it is continuous. So I can drive with a car from Spain to Russia to Siberia here. I could do this with the help of much money and such. I can do this. So it is a continuous landmass. So from the logic, it would be the same occurring in America. So America would be connected with the North America, then with South America, with Panama and all the small countries there. That would be one continuous landmass. So from their logic, it would be a 5-part or a 5-continent model. But maybe somebody wanted to have 7. Because my idea was, I do not know how you would see it, Brett, my idea would be that if somebody comes up with a 7-continental model, some could claim, yeah, because this is just heaven on earth.
Really? Oh, for 7, yeah. Well.
It makes no sense. You see that when the definition of continent means a continuous landmass to separate North and South America.
Well, then why wouldn't it be 4? Because it looks like Africa and Eurasia is connected through what would that be?
Yeah, good point.
I mean, it's and how big does a landmass have to be considered a continent? Because you have all these islands, right?
It is just your belief.
Yeah, right. Yeah?
Right. You see all this after Eurasia, then it would be by the 4-continental model.
Right, exactly. There you go.
Yeah. And why would you exclude Greenland then?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that entire thing is just a belief. What do you believe? Yeah, do you believe that it's connected, is not connected? When it is connected, then everything is connected here. Yeah, so is it just a definition? And once again, we are at our own pagan explanations. The early concepts of the old world, not the new world like America, hello Brett, but the old world. Yeah, so the ancient Greek geographer Strabo holding a globe showing Europe and Asia. Once again, a globe, of course. Yeah, Europe and Asia. The term continent means a landmass. And continent for me is just continuous. So these are old maps. European arrival in the Americas. Christopher Columbus sailed the ocean blue in 1492, sailed across the Atlantic Ocean to the Caribbean in 1492, sparking a period of European exploration of the Americas. But despite for voyages to the Americas, Columbo never believed he had reached a new continent. He always thought it was part of Asia. Can I highlight that in green, please? Because I don't trust that explanation here. Of the Americas, collectively called America, is a landmass comprising of the totality of North and South America. So that is a continuous landmass. Back to the script. In 1501, so 9 years officially after the so-called discovery of Christopher Columbus, if you believe that he has discovered anything, I don't believe it, because I know that he sailed under the flag of the Spanish Queen, which was a servant of the papacy. So
there you go.
Of course.
Yep.
But in 1501, and this is really the beginning of all the mess soon, in 1501, Amerigo Vespucci and Gonzalo Coelho attempted to sail around what they considered the southern end of the Asian mainland into the Indian Ocean. Oh, come on, that's only a child would believe it, huh? Considered... Come on, what kind? You see, if you go to the world map, yeah, what kind of a sailor would you be? West Indies. So these are the West Indies, Cuba, Dominican Republic, and all the stuff, Bahamas. And they claim, consider the end of the Asian mainland into the Indian Ocean. The Asian mainland, the Indian Ocean. Attempted to sail around. Oh, Indian Ocean. Somebody knows where the Indian Ocean is? It could be somewhere in the region of India. Yeah, that is the Indian Ocean. That's a little bit far away from the United States, I guess.
Yeah.
Because it's just the wrong direction. Yeah, so that on the world map, maybe we can enlarge it a bit. No, we can't, but I think that's sufficient. Yeah, on a world map, to try to sail to the Indian Ocean and to come up here is quite a feat. And I have a hard time imagining that somebody would receive the responsibility to take care of a precious ship who cannot even choose the right direction. My. So, that the official explanation is that it was Amerigo Vespucci. Yeah, so that now, in honor of him, because Columbus was even more stupid, in honor of him, that America has gotten his name. And that is the beginning of the next mess soon. Yeah, because that is clearly a lie. In 1507, a certain Martin Waldseemüller, I'm sorry, that it's hard to pronounce for any English speaker, published a word map, the Universalis Cosmographica, which was the first to show North and South America as separate from Asia and surrounded by water. Who could that be? A small inset map above the main map explicitly showed for the first time the Americas being east of Asia and separated from Asia by an ocean, as opposed to just placing the Americas on the left end of the map and Asia on the right end. In the accompanying book Cosmographica Introductio, Waldseemüller noticed that the Earth is divided into 4 parts. As Brad pointed out, Europe, Asia, Africa, and the 4th part. Oh no, it's different from your explanation. Oh, so Europe, Asia, Africa, and the 4th part, which he named America after Amerigo Vespucci's first name. Oh my! You wait and see soon. On the map, the word America was placed on part of South America. At least they got the direction correct of North and South. You have to congratulate them. But during my school time, when I was in elementary school, early 70s, I'm that old, it was told to us that Christopher Columbus was the discoverer of America. So then why is it not Colombia?
Right. Yeah, right.
Because that was also a lie, because even Wikipedia has to admit or just points out, or maybe it's also a fairy tale, who knows, I wasn't there, in around the year 1000, that it was Life the Lucky. Yeah, it's like a horse, no? It's like a horse race. Yeah, Leif the Lucky wins. Yeah, Leif Erikson, also known as Leif the Lucky, was a Norse explorer who thought to have been the first European to set foot on continental America approximately 500,000 millennium before Christopher Columbus. I am quite a little bit curious about thought to have been. It looks like a theory here. So that means that Christopher Columbus was not incorrect. He did not want to discover India. He just wanted to claim the land for the Spanish crown, let's say it this way. And it's just mildly said. Maybe we could also say that, yeah, he wants to claim the land for the papacy, actually. Because his ship was being called Santa Maria, which means Holy Mary. But it's just a question, whom do you believe? Do you believe Amerigo Vespucci? Do you believe in Christopher Columbus? Do you believe in Leif Erikson? You can't prove it. You can't prove any of these claims. This is Wikipedia. These are fairy tales for adults. You can't prove it. Thought to have been. Thought to have been is not a proof. So, the English noun continent was derived from the term continent land, meaning continuous or connected land. Yeah, that's a continent. In the Sanskrit text, now we're coming into the Indian Rome, Rigveda, often date 1500 before Christ, has the earliest mention of 7 continents in the earth. The text claims that the earth has 7 continents, and Lord Vishnu measured the entire universe from his first foot from the land of earth, which has 7 continents. See? 7 continents? Religious context, Sanskrit. The 7 regions of earth comes from the Sanskrit text, Rig Veda. This is an ancient Indian collection of Vedic Sanskrit hymns, one of the 4 sacred canonical Hindu texts known as the Vedas. So they claim the earth has 7 continents. This is just an excerpt of this book. So the earth, once and for all, is not Mother Earth, yeah, because the earth is not feminine. The earth is just matter. It's just a place that you live in. Where you place your behind, where you walk, where you run, where you shop, where you drive, that's the earth. But Mother Earth, of course, is a pagan concept. And it's not surprisingly, because the Mother Earth would be Gaia, and there comes your geology, and there comes your Pangea. So it is all a pagan concept. Oh my, oh my, oh my. Yeah. But sweet dreams are made of these. It must be a pagan concept. Annie Lennox? Does she have long hair, Brett?
She's got a suit on.
Yeah, that would be the next thing to ask. Has she an appropriate dress or no? She's just educating you
with a tie.
With a tie, with a globe, with a depiction of the earth. And she's pointing to
wand.
Saudi Arabia, I think. She's or maybe she's pointing to Israel.
Oh, gee.
Could also be Israel. I do not know what she's pointing to.
Could be where the old looked like the Egyptian. What looked like what would that be? The Alexandrian library.
Yeah, could somewhere in that region.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, it looks like Africa here, maybe. I do not know. Maybe these are clouds, it's hard to guess, but this looks like Saudi Arabia, so that could be Israel here. Interesting.
Okay. Yeah, right.
But gets worse. Wait.
Yes.
This is the song text.
Oh, the 7 seas, yeah.
The 7 seas. So 7 as a divine number once again. The 7 seas is a figurative term for all the seas of the known world. The phrase is used in reference to sailors and pirates in the arts and popular culture and can be associated with the Mediterranean Sea, the Arabian 7 seas east of Africa and India, as told with Simba's 7th journey, fairy tale with 7 once again. and Captain Kidd, or sometimes applied to the Caribbean Sea and seas around the Americas with pirates such as blackbirds. Oh, no, has not crashed yet. So, must be 7, yeah, because the rulers, they like the number 7 quite well. The Arabs and their near neighbors considered the 7 seas to be the seas that they encountered in their voyage to the east. There were trading routes in ancient times and since the time of Muhammad, so their prophet of the Quran, of the Holy Quran. They are the places where Islam spread and is widely practiced. In the 9th century AD, author Yaqubi, I'm sorry if I did not pronounce it correctly, wrote, "Whoever wants to go to China must cross 7 seas." Interesting. So,
I remember who wanted to go to China.
Yeah.
Back in 1500.
Yeah.
Francis Xavier.
Yeah, it's like the giant in Twin Peaks says, "It is happening again."
Yeah.
It is happening again. And you will soon see that all the mess is starting once again. Yeah, they have their islands with kings. They have 4 seas. It's called Keller and is shallow and filled with huge serpents. And it's just very interesting. Yeah, so this is in medieval Arabian literature. Yeah, these are the 7 seas. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Of course, it's only a concept, because what is your definition of seas? Yeah, seas would be, oceans would be better, because seas means being encircled by continents or dry land masses, according to my interpretation, what a sea is actually. So it is just a definition here, and you can come up quite easily with 7. You can also come up with 8, I guess. But that's not the point. These are the historic 7 seas from the Greek. So they have a quite different understanding, but of course they come up with 7. Not by surprise.
Yeah.
Yeah? Not by surprise. So the question is, what do you count? You see that there are other seas.
Yeah.
Ah.
Not so easy.
The navigable network in the mouth of the Po River discharges into salt marshes on the Adriatic shore and was colloquially called the 7 Seas in ancient Roman times. So everybody has the 7 Seas. A history of Venice states, Venice, Italy. The expression to sail the 7 seas was a classical flourish signifying nautical skill. It was applied to the Venetians long before they sailed the oceans. So it's a special test. Venice, I think it's quite clear. Venice, that's a city which is surrounded and consisting of water. That's Venice. Yeah, everything is water there. The Persians used to term the 7 seas to refer to the streams forming the Oxus River. The Babylonian Talmud mentions 7 seas and 4 rivers that surround the land of Israel. 7.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
Babylonian Talmud, huh?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. According to my research, it's not in the Bible.
No, of course not.
So it's a pagan concept once again.
Of course.
So, according to the Talmud, the 7 seas include the Sea of Sodom, or the Dead Sea. Interesting. That the Dead Sea has been called the Sea of Sodom. Oh, sometimes it's interesting to do some research on these subjects. After the discovery of the Americas during the Age of Discovery, from whom? From Eric, from Lucky Life? From Leif the Lucky, from Amerigo Vespucci, or from Christopher Columbus, or from somebody else?
I'm sure they want you to swallow the Columbus pill here.
They were reckoned by some as the Pacific Ocean, the Atlantic Ocean, the Indian Ocean, the Arctic Ocean, the Mediterranean Sea, the Caribbean Sea, or the Gulf of Mexico, or Mexico.
Right.
Yeah, you can come up with 7 anytime. What does etymology tells us of the seas? 7 seas by 1823 in representation of Persian and Oriental phrases, or sometimes in reference to 7 seas forming part of the Hindu cosmology, or to the Talmudists' supposed 7 seas of Israel, some of which are obscure lakes. You see that you have to come up with every possible way of 7. Yeah, because some seas are only lakes. C7. It is in Burton's Arabian Nights and probably was popularized by one of the versions of Fitzgerald's Omar Khayyam, to the extent that the phrase has been applied awkwardly to global geography that would be the Arctic, Antarctic, North Atlantic, South Atlantic, North Pacific, South Pacific, and Indian Oceans. But remember the number 7. In Hinduism, you got 7 higher realms and 7 lower realms, which I would suggest, I would spot that the 7 has a significant meaning in Hindu religion as well. And we know from Talmud, and we know from this and from that. Interesting, the number 7. And every number has a significance. I think it's significant that usually we got 5 fingers. Although there is a certain anomaly which is called polydactyly or polydactylism. From Greek, polis means many. An anomaly in humans and animals resulting in supernumerary fingers and or toes. Like 6 fingers.
2 thumbs. Oh, wow.
If that is not Photoshop, you see, you have to question everything.
Right.
Train yourself to question everything. Because sometimes you will be deceived. I do not know if that is authentic or not. Can't tell. And it's also not that, but you see, as we are bound of matter, and all the matter has been given to somebody else, which I do not like. The number 5 is quite interesting then, because we were not created on the 5th day. We were created on the 6th day. Yeah. But there are people out there who have just 6 fingers or 6 toes. Which could be, in the most interesting way, quite handy. Yeah. Yeah, that was a slow burner, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, also in animals and even cats.
Look at that.
Look at that.
All 4.
Almost every time you get your cat in every session. It's very interesting.
Not my cat.
Yeah, but you have to question everything, you see. That is artificial.
Looks like it.
Yeah, that is artificial. Yeah, so it's just your beliefs. Is it 7 continents, 6 continents? Are the 7 seas this? Is the 7 seas an explanation about the lakes around Israel? Yeah? And I guess that's why some people prefer to have 7 continents, actually. You see? Pagans would prefer. When they prefer the 7 seas, I think then it would be quite logical to prefer 7 continents. Yeah, somebody claims he would be the ruler of the world and he would be infallible. Wouldn't he love to have 7 continents and 7 seas? Because he claims to be quite literally like God? Or the representative of God? I think if you represent a pagan religion, I think that you would be best off with 7 continents. But that is a big feat, and I would not estimate that we have 7 continents, because once again, the definition of a continent means a continuous landmass. What do we have? From Europe to Asia, we have a continuous landmass. And as Brett has prolifically pointed out, Africa is also connected.
Yeah.
When they're talking about these continents, most likely they are cheating.
Yep.
Because I don't see, and their own definition of things, I don't see a separation between Europe and Asia. I don't see it, I'm sorry. When you can drive a car without any interruption across the continent, intercontinental.
That's one big continent. You think the United States is big. It's nothing compared to that. And then Africa, too.
Yeah, Africa is quite large. Yeah.
Ooh, that's a big one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you really have to see the things as they are. Because on the 7th, would you care to read that?
Yeah, Genesis 2, verse 2, and on the 7th day God created, on the 7th day God ended his work which he had made, and rested on the 7th day from all his work which he had made.
Yeah, so the 7th day is the veneration of the creator God. And so I think that 7 seas and 7 continents serves just this purpose. I thought that you initially wanted to say that on the 7th day God created the pause button.
Yeah, that's right, Michael. It's a day of rest.
Yes.
Yeah. Yep. No wonder Mushroom was sitting in my lap all this morning. Didn't want me to read at all.
Yeah.
You're going to pet me.
Yeah. So they come up with 7 continents. This is hilarious, but you see that they can claim anything. And Wikipedia does not tell you it's 4, 5, 6, or 7. It's just what you believe. And nowadays, you see that everything has to be in motion. Nothing is absolute. Yeah. So the universe must be in motion, although it is not supported by the Bible. The earth is in motion, according to them, which is not supported by the Bible. And even the continents are moving, which is not...
Wait. The universe is supported by the Catholic Church.
Universe, yeah. Yeah. Universal means Catholic, I know, yeah.
Yeah, that's right. So it makes perfect sense. You must be Catholic. Or else.
Yeah, you see that nowadays they speak of multiverses, so that there are other universes, although universe means one.
Go. That's a good one, yeah.
It's like quantum physics. You see that everything is possible, even the impossible is possible. Although you can't prove it, but you can fantasize about everything. I wonder how much mushrooms they are consuming there.
Must be plentiful.
Yeah.
By the truckload.
You see that in Genesis 10, the Bible speaks about that in the days of Peleg the earth has been divided. It does not speak about that since the days of Peleg the earth is dividing.
Yeah, that's right.
But they claim that nothing is absolute. You'll be in fear of being tossed apart in Europe.
Mm-hmm.
Disconnected. Or what? They claim today that continents are drifting apart at different speed, even in different directions. And, of course, you can't prove it. It is just another belief. It is a religion. You believe they're experts. Like in the Catholic Church, they claim they have their experts and specialists since 400 years. If that is correct, then while the South American continent is moving apart from the African continent. I don't know what the South American continent has against Africa, but what do I know? And they say that, that has a continuous speed of a few meters or maybe 1 feet.
Centimeters, yeah.
Yeah. Or 1 feet or what else per year, so don't worry. This continental drift. How to prove it? It's just a belief. And second of all, it's just like their C40 method, who tells that this speed, if it is existing, is continuous and linear and not logarithmic. So it's extremely fast at the beginning and then it slows and slows and slows down, which would be quite logical. If you push something in a certain direction and then you stop it, then you have a little bit of fraction and then the object just simply stops. So you have a big speed at the beginning, on the impact, let's speak, and then it slows down rapidly. But it does not move linear. You see that even a car is just losing speed and speed and speed if you don't hit the throttle. But it's not necessarily linear. You see that, or uniform, If you drive upon a hill and then you let go of the gas, of the throttle, then you will decelerate quite rapidly. But what do I know? It's just a religion here. If it would be an average speed, they have calculated that it would have taken 60 million years for the continents to make that distance at a continuous speed. Nobody talks about the Bible, of course. Continental drift is a hypothesis that the continents have moved over geological time relative to each other, so everything is in motion. The speculation of that continents might have drifted was first put forward by Abraham Ortelius in 1596. It is just a matter of faith. In the book of Mark, we learn that if your faith is big enough, some can move a mountain. But you have to have a big faith in their geology. So that's the guy who is responsible for the theory, and Alfred Wegener was just only the one who came up in the 20th century and wanted to prove it. So Abraham Ortelius, of course a Latin name, was a Brabantian, so Netherlands, cartographer, geographer, cosmographer. He is recognized as the creator of the first modern atlas, the Theatrum Orbis Terrarum, the theater of the world. Or I said, the theater of the world. So it is just another theater. He was the first person proposing that the continents were joined before drifting to their present positions, which is absolutely untrue. Ever heard of the Bible? Ever heard of the Bible? You see that it's in the Bible, it's in Genesis 10. That's a little bit before 15 something. Once again, no mentioning of the Bible. He met Gerardus Mercator in 1554, who has then made one of the most famous maps of that time. And of course, everything was in Latin at this time. It's 1570 is also very interesting because that's Counter-Reformation time, 1570.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And this is the Big Bang here. The Theatrum Orbis Terrarum inspired a 6-volume work titled Civitatis Orbium Terrarium, edited by George Brown and illustrated by Franz Hogenberg, with the assistance of Ortelius himself, who visited England to see his friend John Dee in Maudland in 1577. Remember John Dee?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. You see? Abraham Ortelius, in his work Thesaurus Geographicus, suggested, not proved, but suggested that the Americas were torn away from Europe and Africa by earthquakes and floods, and went on to say the vestiges of the rupture reveals themselves if someone brings forward a map of the world and considers carefully the coasts of the 3 continents. Now it's 3. Sure. That depends on time and truth. These are just theories, hypotheses, opinions. And it's interesting because even Wikipedia has to admit, although now accepted, the theory was rejected before. Now it is accepted but not proven. One problem was that a plausible driving force was missing. The second problem was that Wegener's estimate of the speed of continental motion, 250 centimeters per year, which is closely to 8 feet, was implausible high. The currently accepted rate, not the truth, the accepted rate for the separation of the Americas from Europe and Africa is about 1 inch per year. Furthermore, Wegener was treated less seriously because he was not a geologist. You do not belong to the society. Even today, the details of the forces propelling the plates are poorly understood. Let's say it in other words, even today there is no proof. Yeah, but they have to have a counter-Reformation explanation for everything that has been written in the Bible. Every theory is okay because it is then accepted. Yeah, and you see that you do not live in a Christian world. You do not live in a Christian country. Nobody takes a stance for the Bible, does he? Everybody accepts anything that anybody is claiming. And this, for me, it's just learning against learning. Cardinal Wolsey famously said, quote unquote, "Since printing cannot be put down, it is best to set up learning against learning, and by introducing all persons to dispute, to suspend the laity between fear and controversy. This at most will make them attentive to their superiors and teachers." And of course, don't forget money and good grades and social status. Yeah, so you can come up with everything. Yeah, with cards from Piri Reis and claim, oh yeah, that's only possible to draw this map from the above, from space, alien maps. Oh, it's very interesting. You see that everybody has his own explanation. The Piri Reis map, for example, is also not the most accurate map of the 16th century as has been claimed. Okay, what you see here is a spherical map. Oh no, it's not a spherical map. It's not possible to create a spherical map. It's just only possible to create a flat map or just a map on a piece of paper. This is the Mercator map, which is really interesting. This is a large planisphere projection of the spherical Earth onto the plane. It was printed in 18 separate sheets from copper plates engraved by Mercator himself. I said, oh, that must be a coincidence then, that it's 18. But it's interesting. You can't depict God's creation on a piece of paper. Because, of course, what's missing in everything is that, apart from a hologram maybe, that on every display, the card lacks depth. Such an interesting creation, this Earth. Mercator was a devout Christian born into a Catholic family at a time when Martin Luther's Protestantism was gaining ground. He never declared himself as a Lutheran, but was clearly sympathetic, Wikipedia claims, and he was accused of heresy by Catholic authorities. After 6 months in prison, he was released unscathed. This period of persecution is probably the major factor in his move from Catholic Leuven, that's in Belgium by the way, to a more tolerant Duisburg, which is quite nearby, in the Holy Roman Empire, today in Germany, where he lived for the last 30 years of his life. The normal progress for an able magister was to go on to further study in one of the 4 faculties at Leuven: theology, medicine, canon law, and Roman law. Gisbert may have hoped that Mercator would go further in theology and train for the priesthood, but Mercator did not. Like many 20-year-old men, he was having his first serious doubts. The problem was the contradiction between the authority of Aristotle and his own biblical study and scientific observations, particularly in relation to the creation and description of the world. So he had the same problem as me. Such doubt was heresy at the university, and it is quite possible that he had already sat enough in classroom disputations to come to the notice of the authorities. Fortunately, he did not put his sentiments into print. He left Leuven for Antwerp, there to devote his time to contemplation of philosophy. This period of his life is clouded in uncertainty. He certainly read widely, but succeeded only in uncovering more contradictions between the word of the Bible and the word of geography, a hiatus which would occupy him for the rest of his life. He certainly could not effect a reconciliation between his studies and the word of Aristotle. During this period, Mercator was in contact with the Franciscan friar Franciscus Monachus, who lived in the monastery of Mechelen. He was a controversial figure who from time to time was in conflict with the church authorities because of his humanist outlook and his break from Aristotelian views of the world. His own views of geography was based on investigation and observation. Mercator must been impressed by Monachus, his map collection, and the famous globe that he had prepared for Jean Carondelet, the principal advisor of Charles V. Aha, so we can guess that he was a very influential man. The globe was constructed by the Löwen goldsmith Gaspar van der Heyden, with whom Mercator would be apprentices. These encounters may well have provided a stimulus to put aside his problems with theology and commit himself to geography. Later he would say, quote-unquote, "Since my youth, geography has been for me the primary subject of study. I like not only the description of the earth, but the structure of the whole machinery of the world." Persecution. The second interruption was potentially deadly, the Inquisition called. Persecution, 1543. It's interesting, huh? 1543 is the same year that Polish Copernicus published his works about the heliocentric universe. At no time in his life did Mercator claim to be a Lutheran, but there are many hints that he had sympathies in that direction. As a child called Gerd, he was surrounded by adults who were possibly followers of Gerd Grote, who placed meditation, contemplation, and biblical study over ritual and liturgy. Yeah, meditation, contemplation. Okay. And who also founded the School of the Brethren of the Common Life at Saint-Hertogenbosch. As an adult, Mercator had family connections to Molanus, a religious reformer who would later have to flee Leuven. Also, he was a close friend and correspondent of Philip Melanchthon, one of the principal Lutheran reformers. Study of the Bible was something that was central to Mercator's life, and it was the cause of his early philosophical doubts that caused him so much trouble during his student days, doubts which some of his teachers would have considered to be tantamount to heresy. His visits to the free-thinking Franciscans in Mechelen, I have a hard time reading this, free-thinking Franciscans.
Yeah. Right.
May have attracted the attention of the theologians at the university, amongst whom there were two senior figures of the Inquisition, Jacobus Latormus and Ruat Tapper. The words of the latter on the death of heretics convey the atmosphere of that time. Oh, that sounds very unchristian.
Mm-hmm.
It is no great matter whether those that die on this account be guilty or innocent, provided we terrify the people by these examples, which generally succeeds best when persons eminent for learning, riches, nobility, or high stations are the sacrifice. Great, I don't want to have that in my session. So this goes on and on and on. So this is depicting here an impression of Mercator that he had to, quote-unquote, flee from Belgium to Germany to succeed in his studies because of his alternative views or the biblical reality over the theology that they were studying in Leuven. At Leuven in Belgium, let me tell you, this is a Jesuit university and very famous / unfamous. Mercator never committed any of his prison experiences to paper. All he would say was that he had suffered an unjust persecution. For the rest of his time in Leuven, his religious thoughts were kept to himself, and he turned back to his work. His brush with the Inquisition did not affect his relationship with the court, and Nicolas Perrenot recommended him to the emperor as a maker of superb instruments. The outcome was an imperial order for globes, compasses, astrolabe, and astronomical rings. They were ready in 1545, hence Luther last hand translation, and the emperor granted the royal seal of approval to his workshop. Sadly, they were soon destroyed in the course of the emperor's military ventures, and Mercator had to construct a second set, now lost. He also returned to his work on a large, up-to-date and highly detailed wall map of Europe, which was, he had already claimed on his 1538 world map, very well advanced. Yeah, so in 1547, Mercator was visited by the young 19-year-old John Dee, who, on completion On completion of his undergraduate studies in Cambridge, quote-unquote, went beyond the seas to speak and confer with some learned men. Dee and Mercator were both passionately interested in the same topics, and they quickly established a close rapport which lasted throughout their lives. Interesting, So this is a celestial globe in 1551, which is also very interesting. Because from the symbolism, Brad, which planet is it?
Oh, the ring, Saturn.
Yeah. The foundation of the map is the plane on which it rests. But projections are required to flatten the surface of the Earth or other celestial bodies. While all projections distort the surface, cartographers strategically control how and where distortion occurs. For example, the popular Mercator projection does not distort angles on the surface, but it makes regions near the poles appear larger than they are. So that means that you have to decide where the error occurs. That's why it is impossible, according to my humble opinion, to depict a correct map of the Earth. Yeah. And even then, who tells you that it is the correct depiction? Who? Can you fly around the Earth in private, say, let's have a day off? I'm just joining my rocket, hop in and just press the ignition key, be back in 2 days. Obviously not. So, I came to maybe a crazy idea, but I allow myself to think freely, without boundaries and outside of a frame. Who tells me that there are not other points in the landscape, or even other islands, which has not been depicted on any map? Because we know that the media has been censored. And we know of the quote from 1720, I think it was, from the Jesuit general, Tamburini, that he governs the entire world. So maybe something is larger than it appears, and maybe there is something missing. It is interesting because it is just a thought, of course, but maybe there are some points where the elite gathered, or some what else, what nobody knows because it's privately owned. Can you imagine this is in the United States of America? Can you imagine this is an ocean here, yeah? So you can fit the United States of America 5 or 6 times in it, yeah? So maybe there are islands which are not officially been depicted, displayed. For example, St. Brendan's Island, also known as St. Brendan's Isle, is a phantom island or a mythical island supposedly situated in the North Atlantic somewhere west of northern Africa. It is named after Saint, so the Holy One, Brendan of Clonfert. He and his followers are said to have discovered it while traveling across the ocean, evangelizing its island. It appears on numerous maps in Christopher Columbus' time, most notably Martin Bellham's Erdapfel, so Earth Apple, in 1492. It is known as La Isla de San Borondon in Spanish. Interesting, but it does not appear on any map now. Must be a coincidence then, huh? So, I think that we know we live in a world full of liars and deceptions. So I would not trust anything they put out in front of us. Nothing. I agree that Australia might be far away, yes, but you see that everything can have its omissions. Yeah, maybe there are some islands or some places. Who knows? Who knows? When I discovered that there are certain things in numerous maps in the 15th century and then it disappeared. So could be a forgery, could be a fake, but could also be that it should not appear. Who knows? Nowadays, with the help of computers and all the stuff, they're coming up with maps that are more accurate than the old maps from, let's say, Mercator and the like. Yeah, but they rely on the official publications, of course. So maybe there is something more. From that article here, I found the quote that the Mercator map has a boundary cut error. Canada is bigger, as it should be, and Mexico is too small. The Goldberg-Gott error score, the sum of squares of the 6 normalized individual error terms for the Mercator projection, is 8.296. The lower the score, the smaller the errors and better the map. A globe of the Earth would have an error score of 0, 0. But that's the problem with it, because you have then you believe in a globe, and it's just a belief. We found that the best previous known flat map projection of the globe is the Winkel triple used by the National Geographic Society with an error score of 4.5. And now they come up with another map where it's only 0.881. What's the name of it? Error score. Aha. And now they come up with their own map of only 0.881 error score. So that means, from Richard Gott, who is an emeritus professor at the astrophysical sciences at Princeton University. So that means that nobody has a correct map. So how create and how calculate exact locations? Yeah, sometimes Antarctica is that big, and sometimes it's just very small. So I don't want to spend all the time on this. To do this properly, they have to split it in 2 pages. That is just like if a globe, if it would be cut out. I'm very curious where this artificial so-called intelligence will lead us further into believing all the stuff that science is just putting out in front of us.
Well, I think artificial intelligence is just another buzzword for
indoctrination.
More rhetoric that they need to further the agenda into the.
I think they will convince the people.
The no world order.
Right, they are so used to just use their smartphone and just type, or not even type in, but just ask, what is the distance between this? And they take everything for granted. Everything.
Well, there's that too.
Everything for granted. And you don't have to take anything for granted. That's why we come across certain strange things in the next sessions. I hope that was not too far-fetched here on this regard. It was just about the continental drift.
Or so-called continental drift.
Or so-called continental drift, which is totally unbiblical. Yeah?
Yeah.
So, continents. Continents. So, continents, English. So, let's have a random picture here. They claim there's a tectonic plate between Europe and Asia. And that sets them apart. It only seems to be a continent, but if you dig further down, you will discover these are separate plates. And of course, they must be moving because everything in their heliocentric system is moving. And that's a big problem. Because I would like to meet the man or the woman on that regard who can prove it. That this is a discontinuation of Europe and Asia. But this is what is generally accepted. That there is a division between Europe and Asia. And I can see that. Sorry, my eyes are too weak, I'm too old, I can't see that. I only see here a line drawn in red on that piece of paper, on that illustration on the computer. And it's not even a piece of paper. I don't see this. That's my problem. They claim anything, from speed, from location, from causes, millions of years, and all the stuff. And no one can prove it. Only the experts in their frame, they can prove it. But I see Europe and Asia as a continent. So Eurasia, and not as separate. But that's what would get me bad grades in school. So
Well, how about if you took Eurasia and add Africa in there?
yeah, that's that too. Yeah, that too.
Yeah, how would you ever describe that? Afro-Eurasia? I don't know.
It would be then Euragica.
Hmm.
But I just wanted to tell you, see, that if I go into some items and I have a certain reason why I'm doing this, you will soon see why. You see that nothing is granted here. You can't take anything for granted. And if you look upon it, then you suddenly see that, oh yeah, you have to believe it. But you can't prove it. You can't prove it. What would you like to prove? That you can't prove things that you can't see, that are too far away, too deep down below, millions of years ago. It's always the same. You can go in geology, you can go in geography, you can go in biology, you can go in physics, you can go in medicine. Yeah, it's always the same. It's only their experts who see the things. It's just, for me, it's just the scribes and Pharisees.
Mm-hmm.
Or science so-called. 1 Timothy 6 on that regard. Yeah. 1 Timothy 6. And for the moment here, I'm out of here because I would not imagine myself to have spent so much time on that subject here alone. But you will soon see why. And then we need all the things that we have touched on. But even a regular John Doe off the street must really see that it's just a belief. You can't prove it. And they can't prove it also. History is just a story that they have agreed upon. Up to this very day, you have certain possibilities who, quote unquote, discovered America. But
Oh, and who cares who discovered it if it's always been there to begin with, right?
yeah, but it is just a matter of belief. As a child, I had just simply to believe it was Christopher Columbus. Otherwise, I would have gotten bad grades.
Well, and that's because your parents are making you go to a school where you are not allowed to have those kind of discussions. You have to follow the criteria.
Sure, you have, but it's just
We
mandatory
all have that.
in Germany. You can't have a house teacher or so.
Right. Right. You got to follow the rules, Michael. Yeah.
Yes, you have to be indoctrinated by the state.
Yep. Yep. You do.
And the state has been ruled by the church because of their... now it's really... I'm really losing it here. Because of the concordance. Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
So you will be educated by the church in the end. And that's the church, the same church, the Catholic Church, which tells you that they have been busy with science for 400 years. Or over 400 years. You know, type in Vatican Observatory. Isn't it interesting to see that they have an observatory status in the United Nations as well? So
Of course.
they are the overseers. Yeah,
Mhm.
they are outside. They are not inside their frame. They are setting the frame.
Right. They're setting the frame. Yeah,
It's all Jesuits, of course.
of course.
You see, this is a recent web page.
Wow.
Yeah, for 400 years, the Vatican has been advancing scientific inquiry and promoting awareness of how our universe works. And I think that includes astronomy, geography, geology.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah, so and then they are promoting the moon landing as a prime example here, and you know that they are faking it. It's fake science.
Science.
They should be
falsely
promoting
so-called.
science, so-called. Yeah, they should be promoting the word of God.
No, but this is Cain.
Yeah.
Cain runs the church.
Mhm.
It's a Canaanite church.
I would bet, if I would be allowed to, I would bet really that they will come up with, there is a meteorite coming to the Earth. They will destroy everything.
We've heard that one before.
We have to collect all the money. You have to give us all your possessions that we can build a gigantic
all the gold and
rocket.
silver, give it back.
Yeah.
You are not allowed to have anything.
Yeah. Oh, you mean that the meteor is coming in 2030, so you won't have anything, but you will be happy because the meteorite has been destroyed.
Right.
They could show that on their television, you see? Tell a lie. Tell
lie vision. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So isn't it obvious who runs the world?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's right.
Pope Paul VI. He was such a great pope. Pope Paul VI, audience hall.
Yeah, so great they had to make a serpent head for him, huh?
Yeah, you see that? Yeah, where to start, actually? Where to start by all these people? You see, it's so obvious here, but I will come up with a subject especially for Americans soon. So thanks very much for having me, and I'm sorry that I did prolong it a little bit longer than usually.
Oh no, we're going to take all the time it takes, Michael, to go through every single little detail here. I think this is going to be interesting. I think it's going to be interesting. It's already proved interesting.
Yeah, I think so.
There's a lot of subtle details here. It's not so obvious, is it?
They order the people what to believe with their science about the size of the earth, about the shape of the earth, about the continents, about everything. That's it. You see that you will be rewarded if you believe all their 7 seas and all their astronomy and all their moon landing. You will be rewarded. You will be rewarded. Because he is the ruler.
They want to give you it says right in the Bible that they have received their reward. What does that mean, Michael? They have no reward in the next coming judgment. They only have condemnation.
See? They tell you before. Look at this. Yeah. Look, just read that sentence here. I have not read that before.
Scientists study a range of related sciences such as quantum gravity, meteorites and moon rocks, and possible life on planets orbiting other stars. Yeah. Of course, that's what they want you to believe.
Yes, they want you to believe in quantum gravity. They want you to believe in dangerous meteorites.
Other worlds.
This
is not the center of God's creation. You see.
Yeah.
It's just that simple. Relativity on another scale, yeah.
Mm. Come on, when you say for 400 years, then we're speaking about 1620, huh? And it was even longer than that, but they're even admitting that they are doing their so-called science or science so-called since 400 years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's 400 years, that's Tycho Brahe territory, 1605 in Prague, with the Tycho Brahe model, and Johannes Kepler, 1600 something. Mm-hmm. And they don't admit that they are actually doing it since, that they are actually other scribes and Pharisees.
Oh, no, they would never admit that. That only takes a child to learn that.
That's the same Pope, by the way, who has visited the United Nations in 1964 or 5.
Right after the assassination.
Right after the assassination of Kennedy, if it was some. And he was the one who was just going upstairs besides the Foucault pendulum.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. We can really be glad that we have the possibility to do these presentations, that people really maybe at least question narratives. think we shall call it quits now, but I just wanted to make the reference to the Vatican because it's just the organization who has the greatest power, and you see they tell you right in the face. This is Inter Mirifica here. This is the wonderful invention that the world shall believe. This is the magic lantern. Ars magna lucis et ambere. This is the great work of light and shadow. It's just pixels, yeah? Some pixels on a monitor. Monitor means someone who is monitoring you. Please behave, citizen. Do not have any thoughts of yourself. Just behave and listen to the big brother. So, let's call it quits. Thanks for having me and looking very much forward to the next time.
Yes, me too, Michael. Hope to see everyone then. Bye-bye for now.